Hello one and all, how is it hanging? Welcome back, it is I, the Rat Daddy. As you can see my friends, I am bringing you yet another episode of the RimWorld Zombieland series where the empire of this planet is trying ever so hard yet pathetically failing to protect yet another of their cities against this impending zombie invasion. But as I sit here and mock the futile attempts of this empire to stop the zombies, I must say that we're not exactly in a good place ourselves. We begin with our heroes today where we last left them, completely surrounded by zombies in this building. Essentially, the two of them are bedded down for the moment, trying to brainstorm ideas on how to get out of this situation. For you see, if too many of these zombies pile up in the same place, they will begin to come over the walls, so we're running out of time. Since our only two exits were already blocked off by zombies, we had the idea that maybe we try to create our very own exit, so I had Willis and Ox begin melee attacking a wall until it collapsed. And thank God, this room was not yet filled with zombies. We would quickly enter the room and then began trying to think of more ideas because this room basically led nowhere. But I said to myself, the old tried and true break down the wall method seemed to work thus far, so let's continue with that. We got into a much bigger room where we would then try to start healing Willis, that way he would at least not be so slow when we inevitably have to leave this building. And speaking of which, that is immediately what we did shortly thereafter, but we only made it a few feet to another small building because there were zombies literally everywhere. And of course, with them being everywhere, that also means that they're surrounding this small building as well, and we were so scared that we slept right on top of each other. A little odd, but okay. All throughout the night, we could hear the burning zombies just outside, extinguished by the rain occasionally, but groaning and mumbling and beating on our walls. I didn't let the two of them sleep for too long though, as they had to get up and eat a few berries and some chocolate. I will say, with my own personal experience of using the Zombieland mod, I really like the micromanaging factor of letting people nap for a while before they have to run away. It's really interesting. After resting for a while though, Willis was still injured, so Ox would be the one that would go use his knife and tear down another of these walls and go out looking for Crimson or any supplies or anything that we could use, of course. Now, I realize tearing down this wall seems foolish as there is a door, but the zombies were all piled around the door, so this was kind of my only option to get out there without getting injured right away. So after we quickly tore down the wall, we made a beeline for another building that we thought may have supplies, and it did, but it also had zombies, which kind of screwed us over, so we had to run next to some solar panels. We found some supplies and started picking those up, thankfully. This included a few simple meals, an energy rifle for Willis, as well as a few brewskis. But we were immediately chased away by the zombies. We tried to run into a nearby building, but there were zombies below us and inside the building, so we were kind of screwed. We tried to run around the building as best we could to get away from them, and we just basically started making our way through the city, trying to avoid zombies as often as possible so that we don't die. And I swear, if Ox wasn't so fast and nimble on his feet, this would have never been possible. But we finally made it back to Willis and started dropping off all the supplies that we had found. And though we were excited about the meals and the energy rifle, probably the one thing we were the most excited about was cracking open a few beers with each other. No, but in all honesty, those beers are going to provide our two heroes here with a little bit of serotonin, which hopefully will keep them from having mental breaks, as they're going to have to be locked in this room for a good bit longer since we're surrounded by zombies once again. And although we didn't get to search the majority of the city for Crimson, we decided that it was time for us to leave. These zombies are basically all piled around our building, and if we didn't leave now, eventually they would come over and kill us. Thank God though, we did finally make it out alive, even though Willis there at the end was starting to straggle behind a little bit. But it was time for us to move on to another city, hopefully one that is not just so chaotic with zombies and enemies and whatnot. Maybe we'll have better chances searching there. I only hope that Crimson is okay wherever he is. I'm sure he's probably fine. He's a big space marine guy. He can handle himself quite well. We've seen him in combat several times. Now, as we were traveling to another of these nearby cities, we actually received a notification about an ancient complex nearby, and since we didn't like being out in the open so much and we were looking for a friend of ours, we decided to go and investigate this ancient complex to see what it held within. We immediately shifted focus and started heading that way. Shortly after arriving, it was quite dark, and we thought maybe we should go in inside and maybe try to make camp after checking out every room and ensuring that there's no zombies or enemies within, of course. However, what we ended up finding within was very interesting. We ended up finding several ancient crates and whatnot, as well as cryo-sleep caskets. So instead of making camp right away, we decided to fiddle around with some of these things. At one point, we ended up blowing up an ancient fuel rod that exploded, and it was a whole ordeal. But an even worse ordeal was after Ox decided to try and check one of these ancient crates for any useful resources. Apparently, it woke up all the ancients that were sleeping. Thankfully, Willis was good at getting the hell out of the room before they could kill him, and Private Ox was good at stabbing them until they eventually died. Now that's what I call teamwork. After re-entering the front largest room of the complex though, we found one of the gentlemen that were sleeping in the cryo-sleep caskets who were actually friendly with us. Apparently this gentleman was a deserter from the Imperial Army of this planet, and he just absolutely hated their guts. He climbed into the cryo-sleep casket after being injured in a gunfight with some bandits. According to Willis, the deserters haven't had a civil war with the Empire in hundreds of years, so this fella's been in there for quite a while. We began healing him up, and then we began building a campfire so we could all get nice and toasty warm tonight. Since our new pal Juke here is very injured, Willis would begin healing himself as Ox took guard duty for the time being, and then they would both share the duty after that. However, unfortunately, they are both quite literally starving, and we have run out of food that we brought with us from the city, and it's very dangerous to go outside at this time of night. So to ensure our safety as well as our new very injured compadre, we decided to not go out looking for food in case there were zombies or enemies, and we decided to eat corpses. Yeah. It was better than starving, though, I swear. As horrific and terrible as that decision was, though, with our bellies full now, we were finally able to sleep next to our campfire. And it turns out that we had made the correct decision by eating those ancient corpses because there were a lot of zombies just outside our doors. We definitely would have been bit. The only problem is now they're inside here as well, and we're trying to fight them, which honestly went quite well. And after killing the ones on the inside of our base, we decided to go outside to try and clear out any remaining that may be trying to gather up around our walls or anything like that, and there was a holy shit ton of them. By this point, the zombies on the map were getting over the 300 or so mark, and by the end of this, they would almost get up to about the 500 mark, so we were kind of screwed, and we decided to try and hide inside as we came up with more plans, I suppose. Unfortunately, though, during the skirmish with the zombies, it would appear that Willis was bitten, and his status of becoming a zombie because of the bite is currently unknown. But of course, that's something that we'll have to deal with at a later time. There are more urgent matters. Right now, we decided that we needed equipment, and the only people with equipment in here were us and these ancients, so we opened up another cryo-sleep casket, killed the ancient, and then took their gear. It was kind of shitty though, because the only thing this ancient had on was a flak vest, which for Willis I suppose is better than nothing, and Juke would take the assault rifle. Unfortunately though, another night inside the ancient complex also meant another night without any proper food, so we ended up having to eat more of the corpses. As Ox pondered the situation, he began to wonder who was more of the undead, us or them. However, at one point during the night, I had to wake everyone up and move them to the much larger room because I had a creeping suspicion the amount of zombies just outside our walls was going to be enough to throw some over in, and I ended up being correct, and I'm very glad I did this. I would let our three gentlemen here finish out their sleep in this large room where it seemed safe for the moment, but of course this was not going to last. The zombies are just going to keep piling up against the walls, and it's going to happen again. So once again, it was time for us to move on. There was no sign of Crimson here or really any useful resources, but at least we found our new comrade in Juke, so it's time for us to go to our next city. As we were trying to leave the map, there was a large horde, a very, very large horde of zombies chasing us down, and I kind of forgot that I don't have to take them to the map's edge because this is an ancient complex. I could just do it from the world map, but it was still a daring escape nonetheless. And just like that, thankfully, we had made it out alive. Once again, we keep on having to leave these places. I'm really wanting to try to set up some type of permanent base or something like that. Nothing completely permanent, of course, but just some type of operating base where we can then travel to cities after we've went home and rested. But the zombies make it extremely complicated to try and do something like that, or to also try and set up a base within a city. But then again, I suppose that is most of the fun and the challenge with the Zombieland mod, which I am absolutely loving, by the way. I know you guys have told me I should use this mod for a series for a really long time, and I never got around to it until now, and I am so glad that I did. But my friends, I hope you have enjoyed enjoyed. I love you ever so much, and I will see you in the next one where we continue this story. Goodbye.